Hey guys, what's up? It's Brittany and Marcia here from Midwest Performance, and today we're going to talk to Marcia about how to use a setback as a setup for a comeback.
We're Midwest Performance. We're on a mission to empower women around the world to take action and work hard to make a physical impact in their lives. In this very saturated fitness industry, there's tons of competition, but the opportunities are incredible. We'll cover the most common challenges in the fitness world and invite guests to the show that have learned to overcome them and share their strategies with you. This is the Coffee with MP Show.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Brittany and Marcia here today with another episode of the Coffee with MP Show, and today we have a very special guest.
I wouldn't say special, but
Miss Marcia Allen. Marcia is going to talk to us today about how to use an injury as a means of actually fuel for your fire to come back even stronger and even better. So Marcia, why don't people kind of already know you? So
Yeah.
I just want to segue into the episode and what you're going to talk about today.
sure. So my background, for those of you that don't know, I do fighting, professional fighting. So a lot of that comes with injuries due to the extensive training. Perhaps depending on the regimen and the day, it can be anywhere between 3 to 5 hours, if not more, right? For your average person, that could be maybe people that are in the gym, 1 to 2 hours, whatever the case may be. People have a tendency when they get injured, they have a tendency to take a lot of time off. And instead of using that time towards their advantage, they just kind of sit on the couch and get lazy. In other words.
Okay, so I want to back up a little bit. I want to talk about your injury. I want to talk about, as most of you know, Marcia just recently came back from filming the UFC's The Ultimate Fighter. Her episode aired 2 weeks ago, and she did get injured in her fight. And that's kind of the injury what she's talking about right now. And I want her to kind of share her thought process. I want you to share your thought process when you got injured, how you felt after you found out you were injured and couldn't train.
Sure.
I want to talk about those things because people that we work with here, that happens a lot. They get injured and
Right.
then they just start to kind of throw a pity party. So what was your mental process?
So
for that?
I did not know the extent of my injury until I got the proper diagnosis with the MRI and the x-rays. So I was thankful enough that there was no fractured bones. But we found out that I had a partial tear ligament and 2 sprains. Which is almost worse than having a broken bone. Honestly, I would have preferred to have a broken bone over a torn ligament because the recovery is a lot more extensive. So once I found out, I could have easily just said, okay, doc told me I'd be out for 12 weeks. And my mindset was I'm not going to let that 12 weeks to steer me to essentially this path that I'm trying to get to, right?
Right. So I want to get a little bit vulnerable here. Did you have any moments of being on the pity pot? Did you have?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Because
So
I know that people are like, "Wow, Marcia doesn't understand."
Not at all. No, I felt sorry for myself. Why me? Why right now? This is a bad time. I can't believe this. I had a lot of excuses as to this shouldn't be happening to me, and I try to turn that negative into a positive and say, okay, Marcia, get your poop in a group. What are you going to do? How do we get past this? And who needs to help you along the way, essentially.
Okay, so with that being said, you got injured, threw yourself a pity party with balloons and cake and everything, I'm sure. And then after that, you said, okay, now I've got to get back to work. Now I've got to. So what was the next step after you felt sorry for yourself, ate cake and ice cream, and then what?
Right, after I actually got back to the real world outside of filming from the show, because it's really hard, you're not in your element, you're being told what to do, when to do, and how to do it. But once I got back home, immediately, what was really nice is that for any further injury, I had the proper physician to actually go in to help me. So I ended up I did some physical therapy. I was seeing the chiropractor 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was also doing active recovery. So if it's physical therapy, I also said, hey, I can't work my lower body, but my upper body's fine. So I managed to still make it into the gym, and anything that I could do from cardio, I was rowing on the bike. I had one leg on the bike and the other leg in the boot, or the other foot in the boot. So it's like, I did something with that. So
I think what that says to our audience is that no matter whether you get injured or not, so you get injured, that's the first step. The second step is, yes, you're allowed to feel sorry for yourself. Like everybody, a normal human being is going to feel sorry for themselves, but you don't get to, what do you say? Get stuck.
Don't get stuck in the suck.
Yes, that's Marcia's new thing, is don't get stuck. So you can't get stuck there, right? So a way to get out of that is to say, okay, what can I do?
Right.
Instead of saying what can't I do, it was more of a what can I do?
Exactly.
So I think it's important for, if you're watching out there and you are facing an injury, or that is a concern of yours of why maybe you don't go to the gym because you don't want to get injured, you have to understand that it's all about mindset and how you approach the situation.
Most definitely.
And like you said, you did the active recovery, you did what you needed to do, but you also said, what can I do?
Exactly.
You found the things that you could do and you capitalized on that.
So just find other means to go about doing things that maybe you're not necessarily used to doing. And for instance, examples that I failed to mention is like hot yoga. I still was working on my mobility and flexibility, which is really nice, and it actually worked in my favor and helped with my injury. So just simple things like that. If it's meditation, just staying in the right mindset. You might want to take a couple, seconds out of your day, regardless of what time of the day it is. So it's just finding other means in order to work around that injury.
Yeah. And I think the other thing with all of this is that, everybody knows Marcia is kind of superhuman, but she is a professional athlete, right? So she does train 3 to 5 hours a day. Now, our typical person watching this is probably not going to be training 3 to 5 hours a day, but you are probably getting in at least 60 minutes a day, 4 to 5, maybe 6 times a week. And when you're doing that kind of activity for that many days of the week, you are prone to injury. So let's talk about some preventative maintenance. Let's talk about preventative maintenance. How can our audience prevent injury if they are that active in the gym?
Sure, that's a really good question. So there's a couple different things you can do. As far as like daily consumption of like taking the proper supplements that will help reduce like inflammation and increase like decrease muscle fatigueness, which I would say it doesn't eliminate injury, but it helps reduce the injury. So are you taking any type of dietary supplement that will kind of help leeway that? Other preventative actions, me personally, that I do, like I said, I like to do like other types of recovery, like the hot yoga. So I'm sure there's a lot. I kind of drew up like, thank you, yes. Cryotherapy, for those of you that maybe haven't heard of it, but it's essentially, it's like being in a deprivation tank or a nitrogen oxygen that has like negative, it's really cold. It's like negative, I would say like 100 degrees. And it's only for about 2 to 3 minutes. And it really helps. Again, it doesn't necessarily reduce the injury, but it decreases or eliminates. So there's so many different things that you do, but I'm just listing a couple, like the cryotherapy. I go to chiropractic like 3 times a week. So there's so many different things that you can do. But the worst thing that you could do is nothing.
Right.
So something is better than nothing. Like I said, if it's the cryo or the cryotherapy or the hot yoga, there's something out there for someone.
So I think that to kind of sum that up is that if you could pick one of those things, and if somebody was like, okay, well, obviously I can't do them all, but I should do at least one of them, what would be the one thing that you would say you need to do this at least 1 to 2 times a week or daily, or what would that be?
For me personally, actually not even for me, I would say just about anyone. I would consider this like a preventative maintenance, is that taking care of your body and working on your mobility and flexibility. I don't care, stretching, whatever the case may be, because at the end of the day, if your body isn't to its fullest potential, how do you expect to reach your max capacity or performance while being in the gym or wherever the case may be? So especially if you have bad hips or joints or knee pain, ankle, whatever the case may be, I'm telling you, it will definitely help by just taking like 10 minutes out of your day stretching or whatever the case may be. It can be in your home while you're watching TV on the floor. Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything, nothing at all. So again, foam rolling, using resistant band. I mean, you name it, I can go on.
Right, so preventative maintenance is ultimately what will help you. I mean, obviously you're never going to totally eliminate the risk of injury because it's always going to be there, right? You trip over the sidewalk.
Accidents happen.
Right, accidents happen, and that is the name of the game, and especially for Marcia as an athlete, like that's part of the game, right? But there are things that you can do to take steps to prevent
Most definitely.
or reduce. It's kind of like insurance. It's like, this is like insurance for an injury, right? It's like
It's your
your
policy.
insurance, this is your policy,
Yeah.
is going to the chiro or going to cryo or stretching, foam rolling, doing things at home to like help just keep your body in the shape that it needs to be to do the kind of work that you're asking
Exactly.
to do, whether that's working out 60 minutes 4 to 5 times a week or up to the level of Marciea where she's training 3 to 5 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week.
sure.
So anything else you want to add about maybe like mindset around injury and kind of overcoming that?
Yeah, for me personally, I actually have a sports psychologist, and it depends on
Amanda, shout out to Amanda.
Yes, thank you, Amanda, for that. And it also depends on the phase of where you're at. For me, I do once a week. If I'm closer maybe to a fight, I might do 2-3 times. So finding the right person to talk to. And it could be your significant other, it could be your best friend, but for me, I have a professional who kind of gives me the right advice for the expectations that I'm trying to actually get to. So
Right. So for the normal average person that's watching this, it could be your friends at the gym. It could be your coach at the gym. It could be one of us here at the front desk. It could be a fit friend that you work out with, like Marciea said. It could be your best friend. It could be your significant other. Find somebody that you can, you can rely on and that you can vent to, and that you know is going to give you the positive affirmation
Most
that
definitely.
you need to say, don't feel sorry for yourself, get up, pull your britches up, and
Yes.
keep going. You need those kind of people in your life to kind of overcome some of the humps that you have and
I totally
that
agree.
you have in this overall process, whether
Right.
you are an athlete trying to get to the
Doesn't matter.
to the top, or you are a person coming into the gym just looking to lose 20 to 30 pounds, right? You need that support group.
Exactly.
And I think that that's important. So anything else you want to add?
no, I just want to kind of go back to, in my opinion, the most important thing is doing something is better than not doing anything at all. And don't feel sorry for yourself. At the end of the day, your body is your temple and you should treat it as such. So it just depends on how bad you want it. And that means doing something regardless of what it is.
Here's a thing. So just to finish this off, and I'm reading a book. It's called Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. If you're not reading this book and you're a female out there, you need to read this book because it's life-changing. But she was talking in this book about how women, if you ask anybody, a woman, to write down their priority list, many of them don't even list themselves on it, which is crazy. So this kind of leads to that. Like, you have to be able to write a priority list and put yourself somewhere on it. And maybe it's not at the top, right? Maybe your family is at the top, which is fine. Even if you're number 3, at least you're on the stupid list. Like, you need to put yourself on that priority list. Because if you don't put yourself on that priority list and you make everything else a priority other than yourself, things like this will start to happen, and they will start to happen more frequently.
That's a really good metaphor that you just gave. And I'm reading a book as well. So, and I want to kind of bring something up. It's the author is Tim Glover, and the book is called Relentless. It's freaking amazing. And there's 3 different types of people. I can list 2 of them off the top of my head: closer and cleaner, and then there's one other one. And essentially, the cleaner is at the top of like the hill, and the cleaner, essentially, they have no excuses. The closer, on the other hand, they have every excuse in the book. And then you have that person that's just kind of in the middle and going back and forth. So you, at the end of the day, are essentially choosing what type of person do you want to be. Do you want to be a closer? Do you want to be a cleaner? Or do you want to be that person in the middle? So I would like to put myself on that high pedestal at the top of that hill and say that I'm a cleaner and I don't have any excuses. And the first thing I want to think of is, how am I going to bounce back from this setback, essentially.
Yeah, cool. Okay, anything else?
That's it.
That was a good one. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever your favorite places to listen to podcasts might be. And if you really liked this episode, please leave a review for us on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.